Namaste. Welcome to this Indic podcast of Center for Indic Studies. Today I am privileged to welcome our guests, Acharya Sthaneshwar Timalsina ji and the eminent musician Sivasri Skandaprasad. Let me first begin with a brief introduction about our guests. Acharya Dr. Sthaneshwar Timalsina is the founder of Vimarsha Foundation and a renowned scholar and sadhak of Tantra and Indian philosophy. Acharyaji hails from Nepal. He was traditionally trained and consecrated with the Sarvadhikar Sarva Samrajya Diksha and is authorized as a Shaivacharya within the Nepali Sarvamanya order by his Diksha Gurus. Currently, he is the endowed chair of Indic Studies at Stony Brook University in New York in the Department of Asian and American Studies. Welcome, Acharya ji.
Thank you.
Our second guest is the celebrated artist, musician, and orator, Mrs. Shivashri Skandaprasad, founder of Ahuti, a pathway to spiritual enlightenment and artistic excellence. She hails from a family of illustrated musicians and dancers, and she has dedicated her lifetime of passion, raw talent, and hard work to every research and performance under the guidance of her gurus A.S. Murali in Carnatic vocal, Sri Mahesh Kale in Hindustani music, and Srimati Roja Kannan in Bharatnatyam. Her lineage, natural talent, hard work, and passion for the classical arts has helped her to bloom into a professional artist. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you both for your gracious presence. We are truly honored to host you on our platform, and I'm grateful to both of you for sparing your time for this conversation with us. The theme for today's discussion is language, music, and consciousness. So let me begin by addressing you, Acharya ji, since you are a learned scholar of Vyakaran and Tantra. For the sake of our audience, Acharya ji, let me begin by addressing the fundamentals of language. So, one of the first questions that comes to our mind when we think about language is what is the origin of language and where do we seek it?
So, when you think from the Western perspective, the task of language is to refer to something. So, language is of a type of sign, like other symbols, like stop signs on the road. And because these are signs, they are not themselves real. They are referring to something that is real. So, as soon as you understand the meaning, the task of language is accomplished from this perspective. So, if I say, can you bring some water? You do not keep thinking on those words, you just give me water. But if we think from the Bharatiya perspective, the scope of Shabda is not as limited and as ephemeral, unreal, as the way the concept of language works in the West. Because we say, like again from the grammar, I would have to cite Bhartrihari, the very first verse of Bhartrihari, Anadi Nidhanam Brahma Shabda Tattvam Yad Aksharam Vivartate Ertha Bhavena Prakriya Jagato Yataha. Shabda has no beginning and no ending because this is the Brahman. And that is what transforms into artha, the meaning, the material world. So our understanding of Shabda goes so deep that it is in the fabric of Shabda that our materiality is woven. And how did language begin? It's little problematic because this is the blueprint upon which our material world is formed or constructed. Again, Bhartiyari in much later, like I believe it is chapter 1, verse 178, something like that, he says, Nasosti pratyayo loke yaha shabdanugamadrite anuviddhamiva jnanam sarvam shabdena bhasate. There is no consciousness at all. Nasosti pratyayo loke, there is no conceptual consciousness which is not impregnated or penetrated by Shabda, the speech. For it appears that every cognition, every single instance of cognition appears as penetrated by speech or interspersed with speech. So that is why the Bharatiya ethos have always been like Shabda Brahmani Nishrataha Param Brahmadi Gachati, or one who recognizes the Shabda Brahman, and that is where Sivasri and I will have the same philosophy but slightly different application, because the Shabda Brahman is not just the word, just the speech, because it has another application, the nada, that is where she comes. But then Shabda, that's where I come, all these philosophies. So from what type of insights we can derive from that metaphysics for us to have a global conversation today? Because I showed you there is just like a diametrical difference in the understanding of Shabda versus language, the West versus East. And so how can we communicate with the Western world? Is that consciousness, the minute I know something, I say a cup of water, the concept came to my head. What it is saying is the consciousness of the cup of water is inseparable from the very word, the speech. And the minute we are able to conceptualize, we already have language. So why this is such a big claim? Because now, are animals capable of having concepts? Can birds have concepts? Not the same concepts. Let me give you one small example. In our culture, people offer food for animals and birds. When my mother-in-law went to stay with us for some time, she made a habit of offering food for the crows. And then after a week or so, those crows say, we don't want free food. So they started bringing us some bones, little pieces of bones as a reward, as a gratitude. So they must have some concepts of someone giving you something, and a concept of a gift that I also want to give you something in return. So therefore, what we are saying is consciousness is ubiquitous. Language is not a byproduct, but it is interspersed or just a mode of expression of consciousness. And even animals, to the extent even plants, everything has consciousness. It's just a degree of expression. And depending on the degree of expression, they have some type of speech there working, because we are saying inseparable. So there is no clear separability from consciousness of speech. The same way, there is no clear separability of speech from physicality. So that's why we express. So we are I mean tripartite expression of speech here as an intermediate zone, consciousness there, and the body or material world here. These two things are navigated through speech,
Okay.
consciousness and the body. So what about these contemporary expressed language like English or Sanskrit, all these structured language? Structured language is just one innovation of the human and not unique to human. We have to go, in order to understand language, we need to understand basic communication. What is language for? For communication. And to what extent we can go, to what depth we can go as it comes to communication. There are signaling between like our organs and the brain. There are signalings between one organ to the next. We have biochemical signaling, electrical signaling. There is just the communication doesn't need to be reserved to our own words. So when we are addressing speech, Bhartiyari, again, I'm citing a lot Bhartiyari today. Pusko kilasya kurute sora bai kurutam chaka. So it's something like that. In one section, Bhartiyari says, who makes the cuckoo to have a peculiar sound as the spring season comes? They are communicating, you see. So there is a language there, there is a speech there. So I think that we have to see the origins of language in a much deeper level of consciousness than what we find among the modern evolutionary linguists are talking about. We need to go, I think, further deeper than that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'm glad that you brought up Bhartrihari because I was going to ask my next question from Bhartrihari's Vakya Padya. So, sir, as you have explained that Brahman and Vak are inseparable, Bhartrihari, like other grammarians, further explores this and explored the process of understanding the tattva or essence of the word
Mhm.
through the study of grammar.
Yeah, yeah.
For instance, Bhartrihari in his Vakyapadya uses the term Shabd Yog to
Okay.
refer to the practice of withdrawing the sequence from every form of verbal expression.
Mhm.
Sir, could you please enlighten us about Shabd Yog and Shabd purification, preferably with the help of a few examples?
Let's let me first give you one Shabda Yoga. I'm sure that you have memorized some songs. Not now, when you are alone, try to sing it in your head without articulating out from beginning to end. Let me see how far you can go. So generally, in because I also study Tantra Shastra, what we do there is we give you some phonemes like Om Namah Shivaya. And then slowly we start adding to 16 syllables, to 32 syllables, to 100, to 1000. And then what we do is we want to test how far we can go without the interspersing of another thought. Because mind, constantly thinks on in every direction it is going. So when you continue the same stream of thought, thought is shabda. You think in language, thought is shabda. When you are thinking, Bhartiyari is the first one also to give you this hierarchy of speech from the expressed form of Baikari to Madhyama to Pashyanti and Para and Para Sukshma. There are also other levels, but basically let's stick to four. And it is so ingenious for him to like guide us from the expressed speech Baikari to the inner verbalization, like Madhyama. In the form of Madhyama, you have these concepts. And what will happen to you if you are able to simply flow or articulate only the words that you want to think about? Is that yoga or not? Try to only think. Let's say you memorize a stanza like 4 or 5 verses. Sit quietly, start from the beginning, and just let it go without any another concept interspersing the flow of that song or the verse or the mantra. Think only that. You don't like the songs, it's easy game. Let me give you. Count from 1 to 100. That's also shabda. Count from 1 to 100 without allowing any other thought to intersperse when you are counting. But don't count out loud, count within your head. So then you will see what yoga is. Yoga, today is like some kind of gymnastics, physical exercise. Yoga is, ultimately, yoga is samadhi. And for that samadhi, how can Shabda help you to go? Now you see, you have this dharana happening, pratyaya ekatanata, continuity of a concept, dhyana happening, you have carved out every other concept from entering to your consciousness. And then ultimately, you even forget your ego. The minute you are conscious of yourself, oh, this is me counting, your flow is gone. It is interrupted. So you have ruined it. So you have to try it again. So Shabda Yoga is a Shabda Yoga in that way, number one, for Bhartihari. He's training that. You can see clearly happening in his book. But there is number two. Bhartihari is meticulous about articulating correctly, grammatically correctly. And he just doesn't say only in Sanskrit. He is very well aware there are other languages too. And so you should have a total grammatical awareness of speech when you are speaking. So that's yet another structure for the mind to think about, that you are not simply going with some run on sentences. You exactly know how the words are formed, how the syntax is structured. For him, this attentiveness required to organize the words for a meaningful expression is itself a form of yoga, Shabda Yoga. It comes already in the first chapter, that is the Brahma Kanda
Okay.
of Vakyapadiya. I'm like, I'm so happy that I'm sorry I didn't check the questions, but I'm sorry, but I'm so happy that it comes in the field that I enjoy a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you for your detailed explanation. Talking about yoga, Shivashiji, I want to turn to you now. So, is it the same experience in aesthetics, especially because we have read about the Shantaras described in the Natya Shastra, and also in music, as Sir was explaining to us, the primordial sound is the Nad Brahman. um, and also when it comes to yoga, so I have read some of the works of the late eminent artist, Bharatnatyam artist, Thanjavur Bala Saraswati ji, and she said in one of her speeches that Bharatnatyam is an artistic yoga. Could you please elaborate on this?
As Acharya ji was mentioning, Ankur ji, uh, talking about the primordial sound, I read recently that there has been a scientific research on what people experience in the last moment before they leave their body. And apparently, it is the sound of a bell, or a sound that resembles a sound of a bell. So, that is literally the last experience that a soul hears before the soul leaves the body. It is sound. And the first thing that a fetus inside a mother's womb experiences the sound. It cannot see, it cannot feel, it is not exposed to outside atmosphere. it has just a heartbeat. And because it's inside, even the oxygen is transferred through the blood. It cannot breathe through its nose. Literally, the first sense that a fetus experiences is a sound. It starts hearing what happens outside. So, when we are talking about the first and the last experience that a human soul, or any soul, not just a human soul, any living soul experiences, we should realize that we are naturally in yoga with the sound without us realizing, which is why I insist that everybody is an artist, because they are in yoga with nada
Okay.
right from before they even realize it, even before they are born. We are taking extra effort to detach ourselves from the nada and deviate from the path, get digressed, get diverted, and try so hard to do yoga and try to meditate and come back to a state that is very naturally happening inside us. So, when artists like Bala Saraswati Amma, when they say that it is artistic yoga, it is nothing but our natural state of existence. Like how Acharya ji was talking about nada and shabda as the most important aspect of a language, origin of a language. Even music and dance were used for communication. Today they are entertainment. But they were a mode of communication back in the days when stories from the history, from mythology, or even social stories were communicated through music and dance, through bhav. So, this bhav is nothing but our yoga with the primordial sound. Otherwise, you cannot evoke a particular emotion from the audience. If I want to evoke the emotion of Karunaras, I sing a particular song, or the shabda in that song, the sahitya can move to an extent, can invoke it to an extent. But beyond that, the rag that is there, the tal that goes along with it, ultimately that is also yoga, right? The yoga of melody, of rhythm, of sahitya, everything that comes together. So that is what collectively evokes the bhava in the person who, in the spectator, in the person who is also at the receiving end of the sound. So I feel that it is quite natural for everyone, and I'm actually trying to make everyone sing along with me so that they realize this, that it is
Experience.
there, yes, that this is what we all are.
Right.
We are sound, but we are trying so hard to push ourselves away from the natural state of existence.
That's wonderful. Thank you for this detailed explanation. uh, Now, this is a question for both of you. So I'll begin with Acharya ji, you. Regarding this relationship between language and music that you were just talking about, uh, the Western framework often posits them in separate hemispheres. Like they say, the left brain and the right brain, and they are different hemispheres supposedly, and then that's why there is no supposedly interconnection. But in Indian tradition, how do you examine this interconnection, and both in philosophy and practice?
Um, First of all, when in philosophy, again going back to what we already discussed, the scope of Shabda goes beneath these articulated words, and what remains there in its basic state is not something in the form of articulated sound. It is somewhat not structured the way we express in words, and to what extent, to what form it is there, like she touched upon nada. Now we have to find an interplay between nada and shabda. Siddhanta Shaiva literature and even Shakta literature have substantial amount of conversation on nada and bindu. Bindu mostly referring to this articulated speech, or when the wave-like sound finds its positionality. And so in one structure, let me tell you, there's first we have the ahata, the like struck sound. So the express sound, it's not saying whether words or music, any strong instrument. The first thing we deal with is with the ahata sound, the struck sound. Then there is a anahata hata. So there is the second layer of the sound, which is not struck, but also struck. Like my heartbeat. You can't hear it. Most people can't hear their own heartbeat. Or the blood coursing through your veins, and when you close your ears and you can hear the sound in your eardrums, the slowly, if you train yourself to go to pashanti, then you will be able to hear your heartbeat. It is audible, but it's not audible. It would be scary if you could just hear your heartbeat and nothing else. That would kill the purpose. But then there are other subtleties. Then hata, anahata, hata, anahata, the unstruck sound, where we cannot find any beating or banging of two different things to make noise. And then the anahata, hata, uttirna, transcendent to this whole structure. That is the ultimate shabda, where the shunya, the soundless sound, and echoless echo. If you have like a brass, this Tibetan bell or the Japanese bell, and it can resonate for like minutes. If you keep paying attention to resonance, you can hear the resonance more than the others who have not trained themselves to hear the resonance. But when the sound stops for a minute, it feels like you are not actually hearing anymore. It just feels like hearing. You continue with that, and it comes at one point where you stop hearing. You are hearing the not hearing of anything. You hear silence. It goes to yoga. So in the Tantric tradition, there's this Sri Yantra. Most people these days know about Sri Yantra. We organize in 10 different strata, 10 different levels of the sound. So chini, chinchini, chiravaki, all these technical names, like the sound of a drum or a sound of a flute and all these, to be located in different avarana or different layers of visualization. So these practices, we lost the main purpose actually. Unfortunately, these things are used like some magic device by the public, but these were yogic devices for you to enter into the deeper layers of Shabda. And so where the expressed realm is Bhupura, the external gates, is like where we have Vaikharid, the words that we communicate with. But in the classical times, it comes repeatedly in the Sravaka traditions as well as the Brahmana traditions. Like Gurostu Maunam Vyakhyanam, the Guru is teaching through silence. And then we think, okay, Guru is silent, you are silent. No, that's not what is happening. There is this Divya Sravana, like after students get to a certain level of training, they used to have a direct communication without words, without the expressed words, a communication, direct communication through concept downloading or grasping the concept. I know most people today would have a very hard time to rationalize this. All I can say is I myself have met such yogis in my life. So before we think that this is just a fiction, we need to try to understand the deeper layers of consciousness that transcends the limitations imposed by our body. You and I are separate because we have separate bodies, we have separate egos, but that that's not all we have. In the field of consciousness, we are not as split apart as in the field of our body, and there are deeper layers of communication that is possible, and that is where these acharyas, rishis, were able to teach, to communicate, to share jnana. So for them, jnana was not just something communicated through words. Jnana was something directly accessed through touch, through sight. So the whole idea is diksha, like a drik diksha. A guru sees you and you have initiation. Sparsha diksha, you touch the feet of the guru, you get initiation. I mean, you can say it's just a belief, but at least I'm talking philosophically. The concept is so ubiquitous that jnana is not just the words that we receive, but there is some type of deeper transmission that is possible. And that is very unique to our fabric of our culture. So that's why it's a very broad spectra here. And of course, we have coordination with the forms of music, the singing, and the words, jnana in the cognitive sense, jnana in the transformative sense. Like you hear me, like a word, um, my father passed away, let's say, sorry, and you understood the meaning. Oh, his father passed away. That's what it means. I think the job of communication is not just to convey the concept. We want some visceral reaction. When I'm saying my father passed away, and if you are my friend, like we have known for a long time, or you have also met my father, then you would have a very different reaction. That reaction is also the meaning embedded within this sentence, So we should not confine the words and meanings to what it refers to, but the affective emotional side, very much embodied, it's a visceral. And that is where, more than our philosophical expression, the art forms can bring that affective side. Thank you.
Okay, this is wonderful. So it's Shivashiji, maybe you can
Just
elaborate
a
on this.
request, Ankurji. Can you repeat the question once more
Yes,
for
yes,
me?
sure,
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
sure. I was wanting to understand the relationship between language and music. And as Acharya ji was explaining, that when we understand any communication, it has so many different aspects embedded within that, the meaning of what we are trying to say. So, because both of you come from different disciplines, so I was trying to understand how these two come together and how language and music are interconnected.
Yes. So, language and music are inseparable, like he said, because there are, for example, if we take Carnatic music in consideration, we have something called the Raga Alapana. I think even in Hindustani we have Alapi. We have the first part of a song, we just sing the rag in Akar, Makar. It is just sounds. But we might think that there is no Shabda in it, there is no Sahitya to an Alapana. But there is still Akar, Ukar, Ikar, Makar, and they are all syllables.
Mm.
So, without a syllable, without a way of expression, without Shabda, without language, there is no way to express the sound. Because even if we just hum, it is still Makar. So, we still have to produce the sound in
Mm.
to hum.
Mm.
So, without the Shabda, there is zero possibility of expressing the sound. The only way you can do is inside your head, that Acharya was saying, whichever song you've learned, without saying or singing it out loud. if we are able to sing the entire song inside our head, I think we reach a stage beyond the yogic stage also. So as a normal conscious human being that is able to comprehend shabdas, it is impossible to separate nada and shabda as such. Also, we can see this as two sides of the same coin.
Mhm.
Just like how our body is made, just like how you were mentioning about the right and the left brain,
Mhm.
how scientifically, if we see, the brain does the same function
Mhm.
in the system.
Mhm.
But just like how scientifically, Earth is a planet, but according to our Navagrahas, Earth is not considered as
Mhm.
one of the nine planets, right?
Mhm.
Like that, philosophically, if we see the entire body,
Mm.
every single organ has dual functions.
Mm.
We are dual
Mm.
in that sense. Even the soul, to an extent, is considered as dual at some point, because that is exactly what the Dvaitins think,
Mm.
right? They think that the Atman and Brahman are different.
Mm.
We are fragmented pieces of the Brahman. So, this
Mhm.
duality is what actually is the best form of the expression of non duality.
Mm.
So without duality, we cannot define non
Mm.
duality. It is because it is not called singularity and non singularity,
Mm.
right? It is called duality and non duality.
Mm.
So what exists is duality, and we are trying to define non duality with it. So it is nada and shabda, the both factors that come together
Mm.
and express the bhav.
Right. So we are trying to get towards non-duality. That is yoga in a way. That
We are trying to use, yes, duality to get towards non
yes, yes,
duality.
that's what I was
Yes,
asking.
yes,
Yeah,
because ultimately yoga is union,
yeah.
which is
The path from duality to non-duality.
non-duality. Yes.
Thank you for this explanation. Also, in your experience as a uh, singer of devotional, bhajans, you must have experienced this, path from duality to non-duality, because this is something which is very integral to bhakti yoga and to the bhakti tradition. When you see the oneness with the Ishta Devata. So, could you please elaborate on this, and also for the listeners, how is the experience? Is it the same as it is for the singer and the listeners, or is it different?
That is the intent,
Yeah.
to make it the same for the listener also,
Mm.
as we do. If anybody is successful in that mission, then I think that is the ultimate liberation one can, that will be the moksha for the artist,
Mm.
if they are successful in doing that,
Mm.
in making the listener feel it. But coming to the first part of the question, it is very interesting. Even a few days ago, I was talking about the duality that the Nama Sankirtana,
Mm.
brings to the table. So all the saint poets, say the Maharashtra saint poets, Namdev
Mm.
Maharaj, Tukaram Maharaj, Jnaneshwar Maharaj, all the Vaishnavite saint poets, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from
Mm.
there, we have Jayadeva from Odisha. All of them have seen the supreme power as the supreme power, and them as the devotee, always at the feet of the Lord.
Mm.
And the concept of Hari Kirtan, the
Mm.
concept of Nama Sankirtan, also promotes the idea of duality, where we are not the Almighty, and we can have the capacity to merge with the Almighty.
Mm.
So that is the extent. And only if we have that kind of surrender will we be able to completely immerse ourselves in the process of Nama Sankirtan.
Mm.
But the beauty is, in the list of Marathi saint poets that I was talking about, there was one Jnaneshwar Maharaj
Mhm. Mhm.
who advocated for non duality through duality. So he was the one that made a cow chant Vedas and said that him and I are the same. We are not any different. I can make the not the cow, the bull
Mm.
chant the Vedas.
Mm.
He can also chant the Vedas, I can also chant the Vedas. Then how are we any different?
Mm.
So he advocated for non-duality despite being a Vaishnavite saint poet coming from a dual uh, philosophical background. So Nama Sankirtane is, or devotional music. It is
Mhm.
not the only form of devotional music. There are many. Abhang is one of the many that exists, and it is more of a meter,
Mhm.
right? So there are so many forms of devotional music, and there is Navavida Bhakti that you can do, and when we finally do all of this, in the process we think that we are performing devotion.
Mhm.
But in Tamil, there is a very interesting line that says, Avan Arulale, Avan Tal Vanangi.
Mhm.
So, to perform that devotion, we have to merge with the Lord first.
Okay.
And when we perform the devotion, the end product is also merging with the Lord.
Mhm.
So, how is it possible to already merge with the Lord, then do devotion, and then come back? It is not like a shuttle service that we have, right?
Mhm.
So, unless we are already with the Lord, with
Mhm.
the Almighty, unless we are already one with the Lord, we cannot do devotion like this, which proves the fact that non duality is the ultimate truth. But the process of performing that kind of surrender depicts the duality. So it is not going from duality to non duality, it is being in non duality, performing an action which expresses duality, and then proving, hence proven non duality.
Okay. So
Yeah,
it's a show.
it is just, yes,
Okay.
it is just like how you can write the answer
Okay.
in a math paper directly,
Right. Right.
but
Right.
you get step
Yes.
marks,
Yes.
right, for all the steps.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
duality,
Yes.
and then finally you get the final mark for the answer,
I
which is
understand.
non duality.
Because you have to go through the process.
Yes.
You have to go through this process of.
All,
Hmm.
now that you said that,
Yeah.
it is very interesting also in Jayadeva Ashtapadi, where he
Hmm.
brings in Radha and Krishna, but
Hmm.
we always neglect the Sakhi that comes.
Hmm.
The Sakhi is not literally a friend.
Hmm.
Sakhi is what makes Radha dual.
Hmm.
It is the Guru Shishya.
Okay.
The Guru and the Shishya are the dual factors.
Okay.
And finally, they merge together. The yoga with the Guru
Okay.
is what finally is Krishna. So it is
Okay.
not Radha, a female from Braj, that goes and unites with Krishna, who is a male cowherd. We all made these stories to attract people
Hmm.
to,
Hmm.
listen to the stories, to listen to the katha vachas.
Hmm.
But the actual idea behind the Sakhi there is the most important. The
Hmm.
Guru that shows that, hey, ultimately it is just one, it is not two.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Sakhi is the guru.
Sakhi is the Guru.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
very interesting. Thank you for
Mm.
explaining these metaphors
Thank you.
in this Bhakti tradition. Um, Acharya ji, I want to come back to you now. Can you please explain to us that how much of Tantra is intellectual and how much of it is practical?
Um, when people broadly talk about Tantra, what is happening is they go to how it is practiced today, and for that, they meet some tantrics. I have no objection to that mode of study or encounters. Like people from the West come and want to understand Tantra,
Mhm.
and they first go to whoever are called Tantrikas, and then whatever they teach becomes Tantra. But when you are asking me, that's not what I understand by Tantra. By Tantra, we have a system. There are 92 agamas. There are the Shaiva agamas, there are the Raudra agamas, and then there are the Bhairava agamas. And even within Bhairava agamas, we have sections called Ashokrant,a Rathakranta, even twice the 64 agamas. And so, rather than someone randomly practicing or teaching some mantra, muttering something in cremation ground like a ghoul, and eating some obscene stuff, you know. So that is a public perception. But when you go back to Tantra, when you actually read the texts that are called Tantras, you will find two things. Every Tantra has something that you can call practice. They will have it in Kriya and Charya sections. Even if these sections are not always called that, because early Agamas, they call these sections like that, but in the later, particularly non-dual Agamas, they may not segment the text like that, but then you have some practice, and then you have a Jnana and Yoga Pada, or the sections on philosophies and meditative practices. So every form of tantric practice has its root in Agamas, and without knowing that root, whatever people are doing in a random public sphere is not something that I am serious about considering that a tantric practice. Um, for example, you have Raurava Agama, broadly that teaches the Shaiva disciplines, that teaches you the fundamental nature of Lord Shiva. And then around the end, in order to remove obstacles or for protection of the practitioner, it also teaches you Pratyangira mantra. So it comes in a really small subsection within the broader text. And but when we go in the field, we will find people only picking, for example, Pratyangira mantra, and have absolutely no clue about the broader text within which this practice comes or belongs to. So, what is happening in the field, because our old Gurukula models are gone, just for other vidyas like grammar or astrology, we used to have schools for tantric teachings. We used to call them mantra pithas and vidya pithas, and we had the chummas, we had ghara, we have avali, and in the pithas, the shakta pithas, 50 shakta pithas, these Shaivite temples, mostly what you can see in Chidambara Kshetra or Brihadishwara, you can still see this whole stage where actual practical trainings were happening at one time. So all these siddhas who were the teachers, original founders, are associated with particular pitha, like somebody attend siddhi and taught living in Ekamra pitha, or somebody taught in different pitha. So um, today we do not have that type of structure, particularly as it comes to Tantra. We lost that agamic model, and most of the tantric teachers have some mantras, and I don't even doubt they have some siddhis, and they give you some potions or whatever to mm, meet whatever is your requirement, and they will ask you to do something bizarre, like, make this offering, pay this much, or all kinds of possession and spirit and all that. So that is also giving a really bad name in the public, because modern world is a rational world. Modern world, we, on one hand, we send our kids to best schools, and we want them to excel in sciences and in mathematics, and on the other hand, we want them to just simply pick up these occults, and then when they are not willing to learn these things, we feel bad about it, because why would you not uh, worship these things? And then we start blaming the school, like these schools are turning our kids atheists and they are not worshiping the gods. So the fundamental gap is a civilizational gap, that we dropped out all the shastras from the sphere of practice. And I strongly believe that we need to reintroduce. I don't mind if it is completely gone out of fashion, people, nobody wants to practice it, it is fine. I would not like that, but that is relatively okay than to let these practices to continue in the public without any system. Because what I'm talking about, a medical dispensary
Right.
without any doctor or conductor there or somebody who can prescribe you the medicine. You can practically pull out whatever the thing you like, and you just pay a little bit, whatever the money, and then you go home, you take the medicine. Yadva tadva bhavishyati, God only knows what is going to happen. We don't know the results. So
Mm.
that is basically today we have lost the scientific knowledge of why particular chemicals work in particular symptoms.
Mm.
But we still have those drugs, and we still have those patients.
Mm.
And so we are and oftentimes I've found these so-called practitioners who are also the gurus, um, very skeptical or resisting learning. I keep telling people, I'm not your guru, but you just should learn these systems and keep follow your guru. I don't want anybody to follow me. So, and then these gurus, these high school dropouts who are teaching magics and selling ashes, telling them what will happen, and they feel threatened. I have felt that many times because there is this whole big business happening in the society, and we as a civilization have stopped teaching these things shastrically, but people are practicing.
Mm.
And you cannot blame the faith people. They are doing what they are told to do, and in most cases undesirable consequences or something like unexpected, unreasonable expectations, and then tomorrow it doesn't work out and they say, oh, it's all a lie, it doesn't work, I tried, it didn't work. So because the very expectation was unfounded.
Mm.
And so that's the kind of thing I am more interested in. People should have a solid basis or
Right.
shastric basis, and then there you will not find a clear separation between practice, coming back to the original question,
Mm.
between practice and knowledge.
Right.
One good thing about the Buddhist tantric practice, at least particularly among the lamas, higher trained lamas, is that they are trained in sutra as much as in mantra.
Okay.
So they are not just trained in mantra shastra without going through, for example, Pragyaparamrita, Hridaya, Vajrachedika, Ashtasahasrika, or all these Saptashastrika, whatever, Sadharma Pundarika Sutra. There are these 9, 10 different sutra texts, Lankavatara Sutra. These are philosophical texts. So every single practitioner who goes to Rinpoches, who goes to Dalai Lama, Panchen Lama, or any ordained master within tradition, they will not just give you random mantras to start visualizing. They are first trained in the sutra, and then in relation to the sutra you are given practices. So already your mind is expanded to recognize the core concepts of emptiness, of compassion, karuna, of wisdom, prajna, and then the purpose of, for example, buddho bhaveyam jagato hitaya, the day one bodhisattva bhav. The first bhav you have to take is, I want to become the Buddha for the welfare of the world. It is not that the Hindu practices didn't have similar vows, that the Siva Sankalpa vows, we have all these Sankalpas. So the orientation towards the proper engineering, proper articulation of the mind. And so that can happen only when you are trained in the sutras. And if I start training in sutras, people will say, oh, this is philosophy, I'm not interested in it. I just want practice.
Mm.
So that is where I see a fundamental gap and a civilizational problem.
Right. The paddhati has to be followed. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. I just don't do anything random,
Right.
and I come from the believer's point of view as it comes to Tantra, not just a scholar who loves to write on these things. And I have myself seen many people who um, pick up all the random stuffs either with Google or with random gurus, just the practices, because there is a
Mm.
demand on more like a hardcore tantras,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they want to start from some extreme forms of practices,
Mm.
and then there are some psychological disorders as a consequence.
Right. Right. Right.
And if someone were to ask me, That's a natural process. That's a natural consequence. If
Hmm.
you,
I've not followed that
you
Paddhati.
know, you are just starting like a bungee jumping, and then I threw you from the fourth floor.
Yeah.
You are going to break
You'll
your
break your
legs,
legs.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So you are not prepared for that.
Right. Right.
And people don't know. They want some extreme occult. I'm qualified for it, you know. I get so many people like, oh no, I'm qualified for the, what is the highest practice you can teach? I'm already qualified for that.
They self qualify themselves.
Yeah. So there's no training basically, because they are coming from the point of
Mm.
the ego. So, and they think that, oh, you cannot consider me like a beginner. I have some great experiences, you know, like samadhi experiences. Some of these have had like ayahuasca or DMT, you know, drug induced experiences, and they are saying this is like some kind of divine experience. Since I already have these experiences, I'm not interested in these basic trainings. I want to get the last of your whatever you can teach.
Mm.
So it's about the ego too.
Is it also like a quick ticket to fame or popularity? And is
Yeah.
it also?
So it is, some people are interested in saying, I know, like, because intellectually, Tantra is not as difficult as there are other disciplines. For example, Navya Nyaya or Mimamsa.
Mm.
Shastrically speaking, Tantric texts are not as difficult as far as the linear word meaning is concerned. Where is Tantra
Okay.
difficult is in the experiential
The
level, number
practice.
one,
Right.
practice level. And number two, many of these teachings have the esoteric sampradaya artha,
Mm.
meaning these words do not ever mean literally what they appear to
Right.
mean,
Right. Right. Right.
but
Right.
they have an esoteric meaning.
Right. Right.
And then public, without guru's guidance, will pick up the literal meaning, and then will practice accordingly, and
Okay.
will have zero clue. If I can give you one
Yes, sir.
last
Yes,
example
sir.
on
Yes.
it. So the Tantra says, pitva, pitva, punaha pitva,
Mm.
yavat padati bhutale,
Mm.
uthaya cha punaha pitva, punarjanma na
Mm.
vidyate. So you drink and drink and drink as long as you don't collapse on the floor.
Mm.
And somehow try to rise again and then drink again,
Mm.
and then there is no rebirth. So you will be liberated. So, what will happen if you understand this passage in a literal sense?
Mm.
But what is the tantric meaning of this passage? Is pitva. Pitva is just like a breath. You are inhaling and inhaling. All the way, the bhutala is always the symbol for the Muladhara chakra.
Yes, sir.
Under the Muladhara chakra is where the Kundalini resides. Go, and then Uthaya, giving rise to Kundalini, and then you breathe in again, and then you will have the experience of liberation. You see, it's not like a only rare case like this. Every single Tantra speaks like this. And
Mm.
then you will have a literal meaning in one sense, and then the actual real yogic meaning in another sense, very cryptic.
Right. Right.
And
The
then they
language
will,
is
yeah,
very
they pride
metaphysical.
on Sandhya Bhasa, twilight language.
Yes, sir.
They
Yes.
don't want to speak in
Mm.
explicit sign reference
Mm.
type language. So because the very understanding is itself a meditative practice. And then
Mm.
it was supposed to be revealed by a teacher also.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay.
So therefore, I strongly believe that you need to study tantra. If you want to just practice tantra, just don't make a practice as a separated process from the studies.
Mm.
Thank you.
You cannot separate the practice and study.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Right. Thank you, sir, for this detailed explanation. Uh, and since Tantra focuses on ritualistic mantras and incantations, how do these vary from Vedic mantras? Are they different from Vedic mantras, or
So there is this understanding that Vedic and Tantric are two separate civilizations.
Mhm.
And this type of understanding came among the Indologists of 19th century.
Okay?
And they had also another statement. There are these Aryans and the Dravidians. And the Aryans, the Vedic followers, Dravidians like Shaivites and Tantra followers. So the whole categorization, rather than relying on history and archival materials, they were intended to project a social divide.
Mm.
And so, first of all, I do not see, yes, there are separate tantric texts, completely different practices. I'm not saying Tantra is Veda or Tantra is a chapter of Veda, no, but they are not civilizationally different materials. They are
Okay.
like a continuum from within the same civilization. So, having said that, the Vedic mantras, that in the Tantra also you will find some mantras
Okay.
that can be translated. They have literal meaning,
Mhm.
and in that sense, you do not need to set them aside as a completely separate mantras. But
Okay.
in tantras, there are other mantras like the bija mantras, the kuta mantras, and the complexity is when multiple bijas and multiple kutas. Kutas are longer bijas, like when there are 7, 9, 10 different syllables combined, only one vowel sound. All the rest are the consonants, and then it becomes kuta. In the bija, you have maybe two consonants and combined with the vowel, and that is bija.
Okay.
So these are not found in the Veda. Fritz Stahl, one of the scholars of
Yes.
20th century, has done some studies on these patterns in the Vedic rituals and tried to derive some of the early mantras without relying on meaning. Although I do not rely on the meaning aspect of his research, but he did a really good service in terms of studying the structures of the mantras in Vedic rituals. And
Okay.
so there are some he sees, like, in the Vedic rituals too, we start encountering some of the seeds like hum, like
Mm.
phat, like
Mm.
vashat,
Mm.
vaushat, swaha.
Mm.
These things are used in almost every tantric mantra.
Okay.
So they're not like at
So there
least
is
we
a,
can see some type of connection there.
yeah, there is a, some overlap.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you, sir, for
Thank
this
you.
explanation. And Shivashri ji, so can these mantras also be part of music? And what are the aesthetics of the mantras? Like, are they also considered part of musical tradition?
Mantras by nature are sound. So I cannot say there is no music in mantras, but you cannot add a raga to a specific string of mantras and also ensure that the effect stays intact.
Mhm.
So, for example, there is a recitation of Saundarya Lahari that I have
Mm.
done.
Mm.
It is not any shloka or any
Mm.
stotra or stuti.
Mm.
So it is a collection of bija mantras which is hidden inside every shabda in the Saundarya Lahari. So every single verse in the Saundarya Lahari has a phala,
Mm.
has a mantra phala to it.
Mm.
So, like Lalita Sahasranama, I
Mm.
cannot add raga to Saundarya Lahari.
Mm.
Lalita Sahasranama also has its own effect for doing parayana,
Mm.
but it doesn't have the bija mantra phala that Saundarya Lahari has.
Mhm.
So we have to be very careful as artists when
Mm.
we choose to add melodic ragas and our own talas
Mm.
to these
Yeah.
stotras and stavas, because there is a particular chandas given to the stotra for a
Okay.
reason, because the length matters for each syllable,
Right. Right. Right.
especially for stotras like Saundarya Lahari, where it has mantric shakti.
Okay.
We need to be careful. So I cannot say the effect will remain intact. That's all. You
Mm.
can sing Saundarya Lahari as you
Mm.
wish,
Mm.
but it will just be a musical rendition.
So, in the
Yeah.
popular domain, there are many renditions of, for example, Vishnusahasranama. There are so many different renditions, and uh, even for Lalita Sahasranam, we can download so many different renditions. Is that, are they all equally authentic? I mean, I don't know, I'm talking from a beginner's like perspective.
I think unless um, Bhishma recites Vishnu Sahasranama, nobody else's version is authentic.
No, I mean
But
from this point of view of
the music,
the
not really. Like if like Suprabhata can be sung any
mm,
way we want, but there is a certain, again it all comes to the meter. If
mm,
there is no reason for the meter, if there is no effect to the meter that is given to the shloka,
mm,
for example, why even have it? So for example, a Tyagaraja kriti,
mm,
if it is set to say adi tala, if
mm,
it is set to a particular raga,
mm,
if I sing that bhava in that particular raga only, the rasa is evoked in the audience. If I
mm,
take a very happy sounding raga like Mohana and sing Yeti Janma Mitira,
mm,
what a kind of life this is. It doesn't make sense.
mm,
The energy, the vibration of the Sahitya, the Shabda is lost.
mm,
But it is not the same as mantra. Even if I sing that in Mohana,
mm,
the effect of the song, the meaning of the song is not going to change.
mm,
Even if I change the tala from Adi tala, which has 8 beats,
mm,
to Rupaka tala, which has 12 beats,
mm.
the Tyagaraja Kriti is still going to say 80 Janma Mitira. It
Right,
is
right,
still going to say what a life is
right,
this
right.
is. But with respect to Chandas, mantra, the notes that are there, the vibration that is associated with the bija, we have to be very careful in choosing the notes.
Mm-hmm.
There are specific notes that are used to recite the Vedas.
Mm,
As long as we stick to those, it is best.
mm.
It is, sometimes they say best recommended to use earphones
Right, right,
to
right.
listen to a particular song. So, the best recommended to use for these mantras, these stotras, is those notes that are there, that are used to recite the
The
Vedas,
prescribed meters.
prescribed. Yes,
Prescribed
with the
meters.
same anudhata uddhata,
Right, right,
it is
right.
very
As they.
important that that
Mm.
is maintained.
Okay, thank you for explaining this to us. Now, I want to ask this question to both of you. First, I'll begin with you, Acharya ji. Uh, where does modern scholarship stand on these subjects, especially on tantra and music? And what future do you see for modern scholarship as it is,
Yeah.
going?
Modern scholarship on Tantra particularly started during the colonial times with the interest of tantric practice among Western scholars like John Woodruff or
Yes, yes.
Gehananda Bharati or David Kinsley
Mm,
and Alper Harvey. These people were not simply interested in ethnographic research, but they really wanted to understand Tantra as a phenomenon.
mm,
They also wanted to practice it to some extent, whatever. But even their studies were limited because they could only go to the people that were out there
right.
or willing to
Who?
talk to them,
Yeah.
particularly willing to talk to the Westerner,
Yeah.
and even worse, willing to talk in their language.
Yes.
So there was a severe limitation.
Mm,
But then that type of scholarship separated philosophical thinking from the magic type day to day bazaar, let's say Bijari
mm,
Tantra.
mm,
And so there is the charm of people who do ethnographic research and want to go see these tantras the way it is practiced in the Murugan, to the Kali temple in Nepal, or some Kalika shrines, Bhadrakali in Kerala, and then they write about whatever inspires them within their research time. Since we do not have a institutional backing for helping the Western scholars when they come to conduct the research also. Of course, I'm not objecting to their research. They should be left free to study and research in whatever the way. But suppose some are really interested in understanding what it is, not just coming and reporting about it. And even for them, we do not have a proper institution to say you have to go there. Like many
Mm.
students in the West ask me, Acharyaji, where can I go to learn in India? And I'm like, where am I going to send them?
Yeah.
So, um, in terms of the sound, what I see will happen more is there is substantial amount of cognitive neurological research.
Mm.
And in that area, I think we'll have an overlap between these mantric uh, connotations and sound with music. And in the temple practice, originally, the traditional temples,
Yes, yes.
you have different ragas to sing in the early morning,
Yes,
and
yes.
different raga for the midday, different raga for the concluding session in the evening, different raga for the springtime. What does that even mean? In the temple, these temples are the primary sites for tantric practitioners.
Okay.
Imagine there is some kind of raga going on in the background, right? And then they are practicing something very specific.
Mm.
So not all ragas are played in all the temples. Like
Mm.
there is also the bhav of the deity that somewhat determines what are the chosen or favored
Mm.
ragas.
Mm.
And so I think that when we start researching in the affective, like a transformative areas, domains of music and tantra, we will have a better understanding. But this area, I believe, Shivastri will have more to say on this.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. So you're basically saying that the more recent neurological uh, research on mantra is going to overlap with the scholarship on tantra. Is
on
it?
on music,
Okay.
on music,
Okay.
because
Okay.
the music is not a completely separated phenomena when we are studying the sound.
Okay.
What is the power of sound?
Okay.
How
Okay.
it's not just the sound to form some words.
Right. Right.
Every sound has some type of transformative effect.
Yes.
It depends who is making the sound
Yes.
you know
Yes. Yes.
so um, so those so it's like we will not be simply banging some drums in some random ways
Mm.
and expect that same level of transformation. And
Mm.
that is when we start seeing quality.
Mm.
Because why is classical Indian um, you know Sangita so complicated than Bollywood? For example,
Mm.
singing Bhangra
Mm.
doesn't need as much of training.
Mm.
Even I may be fit for doing so. you
Mm.
know but so the refinement, what we are saying, oh, I enjoy it, that's all that is there. It's not just about simple instantaneous gratification. That's
Mm.
not what these refinements are for. They're for transformation in the deeper levels of our consciousness.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
I don't believe that is possible by simply randomly throwing some music.
Right. Right. Thank you, sir. Shivashi ji, please, would you like to add something about on this? Should I repeat the question
We,
for you? Like
yes,
the
please.
yes. So the where does modern scholarship stand on these subjects, and how do you see the future of
Hmm.
modern scholarship on these subjects?
Yeah, correct. So we have many texts for music,
Mm-hmm.
one for practical learning
Mm-hmm.
and many for theoretical learning.
Mm-hmm.
So starting from Abhinava Gupta again,
Mm-hmm.
there is Abhinava Bharati,
Right.
where he has extensively given commentary on Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra.
Right. Right.
And that is one of the oldest texts for art,
Right.
Bharata
Right.
Muni's Natya Shastra, and there is extensive commentary on that. There is Saranga Deva's Sangeeta
Yes.
Ratnakara.
Yes.
There is Abhilashitartha Chintamani by Raja Someshwara. There are so many texts and so many commentaries of these texts that artists have to study music, um, study history of music rather, because we do not, fortunately or unfortunately, have most of what they have written in these books. They are history as of today. So they have documented what was practiced as music in their times. And they have also futuristically given us a structure as to what can be done, um, which most of which is not being followed today due to irrelevance, because we were so in tune with nature back then, and it actually made sense to sing a particular raga at a particular time of the day to have the effect. But today it is disrupted, and there is no resonant frequency. We don't resonate with nature's frequency anymore, because there are so many other frequencies that are disrupting it. In between there is so much happening. So any raga you sing at any point of the day doesn't have any effect of anyone on anyone. So if we sing a Neelambari during the night, for example, Neelambari is from Carnatic music. If you take a Darbari Kannada, that is a midnight raga, I don't think anybody would fall asleep today. They would be more energetic and they would just sit and look at your face, because they
It
are
doesn't
more,
have that effect now.
yes, they are more interested in either finding fault with the kind of delivery that we are trying to do. So the distraction is on multiple levels. So in a way, the historic texts for music that we have by the scholars of that time do not apply today.
Okay.
It is unfortunate that way. Another thing is, we do not have any other magnum opus of recent times.
Okay.
There has been no scholar that has come up with a text as rich and as in depth as what these people have written. Though music has changed with time, there is no record, there is no documentation, because today's documentation is digital.
Right.
It is YouTube. So we have come to a point where there is no textual documentation of how music is being presented today. And it has been the concert structure has been given to us by a couple of artists from very recent times, as recent as 100 years ago, 150 years ago. This was not the concert pattern that we were following even 200 years ago. So with respect to modern scholarship on music, I am not sure if there is anybody that is willing to take up the responsibility to document it, to research on it, and to come up with a very futuristic approach to sustain the spirituality, the technicality, and also the philosophy behind music
Right.
anymore.
Because it requires both a person who's practicing and also somebody who's intellectually trained in the
Yes.
academic disciplines.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very rare to find that combination. Yeah. I would like to ask one question, and this is almost towards the end of our conversation now. Uh, I was told by a wise person that in Vishnusahasranama there is isomorphism, which is the different parts of speech are the same. So, sir, could you please elaborate on this if it is?
I don't know exact reference which you are talking about.
Yeah.
Do you know the exact reference?
No, I don't have the reference, but basically the different parts of speech are same. Is
So,
it?
what you may be referring is when the same word
Yeah.
is used,
Yeah.
maybe repeatedly in
Okay.
different occasions, do not mean the same thing.
Okay.
Is that what you are trying to say?
Yeah. So basically, different parts of speech are. I mean, if you're when it is used as a verb or as in different parts, it is basically the same thing.
Um, for example, Hari.
Yes.
What I'm just trying to relate to the word Hari.
Yes. Yes.
Hari could mean Lord Vishnu.
Yes. Yes.
Hari could also mean a monkey
Yes.
or a lion.
Yes.
So there are 14 different meanings of the same word.
Mm-hmm.
depending on context, we will be understanding different things
Okay. Okay.
by the same word.
Okay.
So maybe that is what you are referring to.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
just having a
Yeah.
hard time to
Yes.
locate
Yes. Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so then in the practice, what happens? Sanskrit is a bit complex language
Mm-hmm.
because for the same thing we have many words to refer to.
Mm-hmm.
Like for the earth, we have Ksha,
Mm-hmm.
Kshma, Glau, Kashypi,
Mm-hmm.
Kshiti, Bhu, Bhumi, Achala, Ananta, Choni,
Mm-hmm.
Jya, Kashypi, Kshiti, many other words we have for the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And these words do not mean the same thing. Although you can translate as the earth,
Mm-hmm.
but they do not mean the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just like they say the Eskimos have 55 words for the ice.
Mm-hmm.
So it's for the different context, different conditions. So
Mm-hmm.
the same way. So that is one. But the same word, this is like the same thing having multiple words,
Mm-hmm.
but the same word having multiple references. And
Okay.
then we also have another situation when the same word has so many references. So how
Okay.
do you? That is why basically just by opening a book, you may not have the best of the understanding because the same word could mean
Mm-hmm.
different things,
Mm-hmm.
and we are repeating, but then they mean different things in different context.
Mm-hmm.
But then beyond this,
Mm-hmm.
there is this indicative meaning, like a indication that goes beyond simple isomorphism. Like what is the indication is like, let's say I tell you it's sunset already.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say, oh, it's the sunset, if you are a brahmachari
Mm-hmm.
and I'm saying, oh, it's the sunset, meaning, Ankur, what are you doing? You're supposed to go start doing your sandhya,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, but to a thief,
Mm-hmm.
it's an indication. It's our time to go somewhere
Mm-hmm.
where we have agreed on,
Mm-hmm.
and to break somebody's house or something. Or for two lovers, hey, this is the time we had agreed to see each other.
Mm-hmm.
So it is the sunset does not have any of those meanings. But for the people who are there to understand the meaning
Mm-hmm.
in their interrelationship,
Mm.
intersubjective field,
Mm.
they are understanding completely different meanings. The same words are revealing completely different meanings. So
Mm.
by means of indication. So
Mm.
again, the repetition of the word in different meanings, or the same word having multiple meanings, or the same sentence referring to completely different things depending on the context. So we have to be mindful of those
Okay.
situations.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Acharya ji, as you were saying, I was thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, it could be the case where, because it is Hari's Nama
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the thing, every single Shabda in the Vishnu
Yes.
Sahasranama is his name,
Yes. Yes.
where it becomes the subject.
Yes.
It also, because it is a Karana Nama,
Yes.
it
I was.
becomes the action,
Yes.
the verb
That's what I was coming
also.
to. Actually, I was
Yeah.
trying to say that. Thank you for understanding my point. Yeah.
Yes,
So it
and
is
the
the
action is applied on
subject,
the
object,
object.
and the
Huh.
action. So that's what I wanted to ask you. That
Okay, what he does. Okay,
yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Attributed to it, like a
Yes.
Madhusudana.
Yes.
So
Yes.
then we are referring to the same deity
Yes.
killing
In
the
different
demon
forms.
named Madhu.
Madhu.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh?
In
So
different forms of speech,
yeah,
it is we are referring to the same
Yes. So
deity.
Madhu
Yeah.
is the object on which the action
action
is
is taken. Yeah,
performed.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
Madhusudana is again the action name for
yeah,
Hari,
yeah.
which makes
Yes.
it the subject.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
most of, I think all the names are
Yes.
isomorphisms
Yes.
that way.
Yes. In that way. Thank you, Shivashri ji. And finally, I want to ask both of you that since you're coming from different disciplines, how did you come to work together, and how did you, how was this possible? I was just curious to know if you
Oh,
would like
it
to.
came through a common friend of ours, Atrijet.
Okay.
I occasionally compose, or better said, I become the instrument for the composition of some Sanskrit prayers in
Yes.
different meters.
Yes.
And he said we should have them sung by somebody, and he arranged a meeting with some artist,
Okay.
and there was not even a choice, because when I saw and heard uh, Sivasri singing, I could feel her bhav and her presence, and that was just like a easy thing for me to realize that it's not the task or a project. It's about what we actually believe in.
Right. Right.
And I could see, just the way I write, I felt like she sings the same way,
Oh,
as an instrument of the divine. And
okay.
then I just felt like I wouldn't have anybody else.
Okay. That's a blessing
That's
for
a
you.
blessing. That's a blessing to hear him say that every time.
Yeah. So
Yes.
it is the mantras that he composed, and you are singing these.
Yes,
Okay.
I
Okay.
so we did an album full of stotras and stavas that he has written,
Okay. Okay.
and it was traditionally tuned in
Hmm.
classical Indian classical ragas,
Okay. Okay.
and it was sung with all the traditional instruments,
Okay.
made into an easily repeatable version of stavas for people to chant along, for people to sing along.
Okay.
Yes,
Is it
so
recorded? Is it available for
yes,
us
it
to?
is recorded, it
Okay.
is out for people to
To
listen to
listen to.
on YouTube from
Okay.
Vimarsha's channel.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it is available for everybody to chant along
Okay. Then.
already.
Okay. We will
Yes,
certainly.
yes,
Uh,
yes,
we will
definitely. I
certainly
urge
insist.
everyone to, go to Vimarsha's channel to listen to the stavas. And
Yeah.
we are soon coming up with another album. This time, I really wanted this to go global.
Okay.
So I wanted to emphasize on the fact that uh, the deities in that rule the entire world,
Hmm.
that govern the entire world, are the same, the energies are the same. Otherwise we will not find a Lord Morrigan in Slavic
Hmm. Hmm.
culture,
Hmm.
who
Hmm.
also happens to be the goddess of war, like
Hmm.
Lord Murugan, that
Hmm.
is the god of war in Hindu culture.
Right. Right. Right.
So, unless the energies were the same and geographically we have just named them
Hmm.
differently,
Hmm.
we have had different ways of
Hmm.
following
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
worship
Right.
methods, but it is ultimately the same. So, we need someone from Scandinavian countries to listen to
Hmm.
these tawas and relate to them.
Right.
We need someone from Mongolian countries who have to relate to these tawas. They should be able to understand the
Absolutely.
music and chant along. So I asked Acharya if it is okay to use fresh global sounds, for these stotras, to take it to different parts of the world.
Hmm.
So it will not be just the Indian diaspora that would chant,
Hmm.
but the entire world that would
It's a
sing
very noble
along.
thought. I suggest, and yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And,
Yeah. When I was in Brazil a few years back, some of my students who do not know Sanskrit had memorized some of my compositions, and they were singing in their own tune of whatever Brazilian pop. And first, I didn't even understand what they were singing, because number one, I was not expecting. They were trying to give me surprise. Their accent is very different, and the whole music in which it was set up was also very different. But what was not different was their devotion to the Lord. The way I relate myself to Mother Saraswati
hmm.
is not different from the way these other people relate to, as long as they understand her as the mother of wisdom, as the
Hmm.
goddess of wisdom. So One thing that is lacking, in a sense, is traditionally, historically, we from Bharatavarsha are reserved, skeptical when it comes to outsiders. Um, we don't want them to freely take our stuffs and start practicing or learning things. Quite contrast to the way the West thinks or does. And that is why we have more of a Western appropriation in our own lands. And even the best of our civilizational products are not reached to the corners of the West, even though they would be deeply appreciated if we had ambassadors
Hmm.
to bring these things.
Right,
So,
right.
so this is the way I feel like
We
we
are not
have a,
good at projecting our soft
yeah,
power and,
yeah.
you know,
We this
Yeah.
is, I believe, Ankur, is we have a moral obligation
yes,
to
yes, sir.
allow these things to breathe in a new tone or new light.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for this wonderful message and for this, for inspiring us to, work on these lines. I thank both of you for taking out this time for this beautiful conversation. I hope our viewers will enjoy this conversation and they will learn a lot from both of you. Thank you so much. Namaste.